In this video, we're going to be putting a lower dashboard unit on a KLR650. So check this out. I'm going to be installing a lower loaded dash made by KLR-com. Now this KLR lower dash is going to install to these fork bolts, these uppermost fork bolts on the bike. You got two on each side. Between that fork bolt and the actual fork itself, or the triple tree, there's this sheet metal piece that has this wire loom attached that holds these cables back. That's going to come off. So these fork bolts are 12 millimeter. You can use a 12 millimeter socket. There's two of them on each side. So go ahead and remove the upper two fork bolts on both sides. There's one. And here's the other. And when that comes out, that little wire stay device I was talking about is right here. It's just a metal wire that's designed to hold these cables back to keep them from bunching up in a forward position up against that dash. But this new KLR lower dash will hold those back, so these are not needed anymore. Now I'm going to apply a little blue Loctite, and I'm going to screw the bottom two bolts back in. We can go ahead and put these bottom two triple clamp bolts back in because the lower dash attaches only to the top two bolts. A little blue Loctite. Better safe than sorry. On these bolts I'll use a torque wrench, and what we're going to do is we're going to take these to 15 foot-pounds. That's not a whole lot. In fact, it's very hard to gauge by hand, so you really do need to use a torque wrench on this. There it is. You don't want to over torque your fork bolts because you can actually cause some damage to the tube. But under torquing, obviously, you could come loose. So this is probably I would probably consider this to be a critical fastener. Definitely want to use a torque wrench. Right there it is. That's your 15 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to slide the lower dash unit in, and it's got two wires on it. There's a long red one, and I'm going to go to the left side of this this bracket that holds the fairing still, but still in the center of the two forks. And I'll just feed it down in there for now. We'll fish it through later. And then on the black one, I'm going to go on the right side of that piece. Okay, now I'm going to drop the bracket down, approximately where it goes. Once again, I've added a medium strength thread locker or a blue Loctite to the bolt, and I'll run them in with my fingers, and then we'll come back with a torque wrench and properly torque those. And then with the torque wrench, once again, we'll take these bolts to 15 foot-pounds. Right there it is, that's 15. On the right side of the bike, I've brought the black wire in through the middle of the forks on this right side. And so all we have to do is connect this anywhere on the frame of the machine, and we're going to have a good ground. A very good convenient place is right here. The horn is located directly above the coolant container, and it's mounted off of a bracket that has two 10mm bolts. So we'll use a 10mm wrench and take that bolt out. So right now I've applied a little bit of a blue Loctite or a medium strength thread locker to the bolt. I'm putting that back in. And then we'll tighten that down. And that's going to give us a nice ground for that dash panel. And that's tucked right up under that fuel tank, so nobody will ever see it. Now I bring the red wire through the center of the forks on the left side of the bike, and it's quite a bit longer because it has to go all the way back to the battery. Just following down, we're basically going to follow down along all these other wires and come right back here to the battery. A nice feature of this lower dash is it has a built-in fuse protection for the dash. If you pop the top off of this, you can see there's a what we got here, that's it's a 10 amp fuse, a 10 amp automotive fuse right in that little fuse protector, right in line with this, and that's protecting anything connected to the dash from shorting the whole bike out, so that's good. So on the battery, if you're not electrically savvy, the connection we're going to is the red one. Just think red wire goes to the red connection. So one of your battery cables has a red boot on it, a rubber boot covering the connector. Just peel that boot back. The best tool to use here is a number 3 Phillips screwdriver that fits perfectly inside to that Phillips head of that factory bolt. Give it a twist and break that loose, and then that bolt has to come all the way out. And then once it's out, we'll pass it through our red ring connector on our wire for our dash, then back through the battery cable and into the battery. And we tighten that up. And I'll do the best I can to get that boot slid back over that terminal. Little red rubber boot there. And then that's it. Your connections are made. Now we're going to want to tie the wires up and get the installation cleaned up. The first thing we're going to want to worry about is making sure we got very good movement with our wires. We need enough slack up front with the forks that there's no pull on these wires. So hold your wires like this and then move your forks all the way to the left till it locks, all the way to the right till it locks, and make sure you're not feeling any pulling on that wire. Like right there, I felt a little pull on on the red one. All the way to the left, all the way to the right. And now we'll start cable tying. And cable tie these right to existing wires that are coming through. That way you know that, Kawasaki's already put a lot of thought into how to run these wires to keep them out of trouble. So you want to keep these wires right along that same path. stop and check and make sure, especially as you get the first couple socked down, that you're not putting any tension on that wire when the steering's going lock to lock. And pull that down tight. In this area, I'm still following that clutch cable. And then my fuse panel can lay in a void right here above the battery. There's a little void there, a dip. Puts it down low so that it's not going to cause a problem. On the other side, I'll do the same thing. One more, and that should be enough. Right there. There we go. And the last step with the wiring is I'll take some wire cutters and I'll come in and I'll clip all the tails of those zip ties off. So it's a nice close installation. And this is the KLR.com lower dash installation completed. Then you can see it's a very professional looking installation. We got a voltmeter in the middle. We've got two power outlets. We've got two rocker switches. This one turns the whole panel on and off. This one's a spare that we can use for auxiliary lighting if we want. And as you see, when you turn the wheel, it doesn't scrub anything or cause any kind of problem. If you turn the panel on, you can see that the voltage lights up. Right now we've got 12.5 volts, which is pretty good for a 12 volt system, just sitting idle, not even running. Very nice, very professional, very clean. Kudos to KLR-.com.